Okay, you're aware I'm going to drop at 12:30?
Yes, thanks, Doreen.
I'll
Thank you.
move quickly.
Okay, we're all set, Kristen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kristen Proud, Vice Chair of New York Creates. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's meeting. At this time, we'll do a roll call of the directors who are participating in the meeting, starting with Michael Abbott,
Present.
Heather Hage,
Present.
Doreen Harris,
Present.
and Dr. Mengling Shao.
Present.
Thank you for joining. I'd also like to recognize the advisory representative designees, Ian Rosenblum, who is the designee of the Chancellor of the State University of New York, and also Dr. Andrew Russell, who is the designee of the SUNY Poly Foundation. I'd also like to recognize the member representative, Ryan Farrell, who is with us today representing the Research Foundation of the State University of New York, and also several officers of New York Creates who are participating in today's meeting. David Anderson, Patricia Arciero Craig, Paul Kelly, Scott Bateman, Timothy Taylor, and Patricia Buckland. At this time, I would ask everyone to mute your computers if you are not speaking so as to minimize any background noise. And also, I would ask that you would please identify yourself when speaking or making a motion or providing a second to a motion. For purposes of voting today, I will call out each director's name for their vote so that we can accurately have the vote recorded. At this time, I would ask if anyone has a conflict of interest with respect to any item on today's agenda. And if that is the case, if you would please make an appropriate disclosure on the record now and then recuse yourself from any discussion and from voting with regard to that item or items when we come to them on the agenda. Hearing no potential conflicts of interest, we'll move to our first agenda item today. We need to approve minutes, two sets of minutes actually. The first being from our January 23rd, 2024 meeting. So I would ask to have a motion to approve the minutes of the New York Creates meeting that occurred on January 23rd, 2024.
I'll make the motion. This is Doreen.
Thank you, Doreen. A second, please.
This is Mike. I second it.
Thanks, Mike. Any corrections or amendments to the minutes from January 23rd, 2024? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the vote. Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Heather Hage.
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
and Dr. Mengling Shao.
Aye.
And I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it, and the motion to approve the January 23rd minutes is adopted. Next, we'll move for a motion to approve the minutes of the New York Creates meeting that occurred on February 6th, 2024. If I could have a motion.
So moved by Mengling Shao.
Thanks, Mengling. A second.
This is Mike. I second it.
Thank you, Mike. Any corrections or other amendments to the minutes from the February 6th meeting? Okay, hearing none, then on to the vote. Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
and Dr. Mengling Shao.
Aye.
And I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it, and the motion to approve the February 6th meeting minutes is adopted. At this time, we'll move to the Finance Committee report, and I'll present that as the chair of the Finance Committee. The first item from the Finance Committee today is authorization for establishment of a final project control budget and issuances of notice to proceed for NanoFab Reflection. So I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt FRMC Resolution number 194, authorizing establishment of a final project control budget and issuances of notice to proceed for NFR.
So moved, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. A second, please.
Second by Mengling Shao.
Thanks, Mengling. So the agreement with the design builder for NFR utilizes a project control budget inclusive of design and construction management fees to control the entire project cost. The project control budget was established in the agreement at an initial estimate of $409,907,537. We'll refer to this as the initial project control budget. And the parties acknowledged in the agreement, this was a rough estimate of the project control budget. The design builder and FRMC are now at the stage of having identified major project requirements in order to establish a final project control budget in the amount of $495,614,906 plus a 5% design builder contingency, which amounts to $25,725,726. This is the final project control budget. The terms of the agreement provide for further adjustment to the final project control budget by mutual consent of the design builder and FRMC pursuant to future change orders. To date, $500 million in grants from ESD have been provided and accepted and authorized for use by the board for this project. FRMC now seeks authorization to establish the final project control budget in the amount of $495,614,906 plus a 5% design builder contingency amounting to $25,725,726 to delegate to and empower FRMC's president with authority to approve change orders that would increase the final project control budget to no more than $550 million and issue additional notices to proceed to the design builder in a cumulative amount up to the amount of the final project control budget, as may be amended by change orders to no more than $550 million. These notices to proceed would supersede the notices to proceed that were previously authorized and issued. Any additional funding required above $500 million in grant funding received to date could come from one or more of the following sources: state and federal grants, agreements with industry partners, private financing, and or other sources. To the extent that additional funding is required, the board would be asked to approve the terms and conditions of such funding. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting and recommended that the board approve the same actions. So the requested action from the board is approval of FRMC resolution number 194. At this time, I'll open it to any questions or comments. Hearing none, we'll move to the vote. Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao.
Aye.
And I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative, so the ayes have it, and resolution number 194 is adopted. The next item on the agenda from the Finance Committee is a lease with Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, or RPI. I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt a lease with RPI.
So moved by Mengling Shao.
Thank you. A second, please.
Mike, I second.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Mike. So RPI, which is a technological research university based in Troy, New York, currently leases 660 square feet of office space in the NanoFab East building, governed by a separate lease. In addition, RPI seeks to lease approximately 6,000 square feet of office space in Zen for a term that would commence 10 days after a certificate of occupancy or other municipal authorization is obtained by RPI for the fit-up work, which is also to be completed by RPI, with the date anticipated to be on or about March 1, 2025, and ending on December 31, 2033. Rent will commence 10 days after a CO or comparable municipal authorization is obtained by FRMC for the work to be performed by FRMC to bring the premises into, quote, vanilla box condition. That would be the rent commencement date. The total monthly base rent for the partial lease year from the rent commencement date through December 31, 2024 will be $18,565, and that's based on a square foot rate of $37.13. The annual base rent for the lease year from January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025 will be $229,463.40. For each successive lease year, the annualized amount will increase by 3% of the total annual rent in the preceding lease year. The rent includes operating expenses and utilities. The tenant will be provided and pay for parking beginning January 2026. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting and recommends that the board approve the same actions. The requested action from the board is approval of a resolution, approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease with RPI as requested in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting. This time, I would open it up for questions or comments. We'll move to the vote. Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Heather Hage. Heather?
I'm sorry if you didn't hear me. Aye.
Thanks, Heather. Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The next item is a lease amendment with Wayne Schaff Associates, Inc. Is there a motion to consider and adopt a lease amendment with Wayne Schaff?
I'll make the motion. It's Doreen.
Thanks, Doreen. A second, please.
Mike, I second it.
Thanks, Mike. So Wayne Schaff is a full-service construction company located in the Capital District. Its work ranges from clean rooms to classrooms. It leased approximately 181 square feet of office space in CSTEM for 1 year that expired February 27, 2024. The company is now seeking to amend the lease to substitute a smaller office consisting of 121 square feet for a term commencing February 29, 2024, and expiring on February 28, 2026. The tenant will pay $4,800 in annual rent for the space, and that's based on a rate of $39.67 per square foot plus parking. The rent does include operating expenses as well as utilities. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting, including recommending that the board approve the same actions. So the requested action is approve a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease amendment with Wayne Schaff as requested in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting. Are there any questions or comments about this lease amendment? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Doreen Harris. Doreen?
Oh, aye. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
That's okay, thank you. Dr. Mengling Shao?
Aye.
And I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative, please. So the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The next item is a lease amendment. This is with OptoSense Inc. I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt a lease with OptoSense.
So moved by Mengling Shao.
A second, please.
This is Mike, I second.
Thanks, Mike. So this is a technology company based in California with skills in sensing technologies, instrumentation, design and fabrication, embedded computing, digital engineering, model-based systems engineering, software, mobile apps, and web services. The company's leasing approximately 121 square feet of office space in CSTEM for a 1-year term that expired on February 27th, 2024. And they are seeking to extend this lease for a 1-year term that would commence February 28th, 2024, with an option to renew for one additional 12-month period. The total annual base rent for the year beginning on February 28th, 2024, based on a rate of $39.67 per square foot, is $4,800. The total annual base rent for the renewal period, if applicable, would be $4,944. The rent does include utilities as well as operating expenses. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting and recommends that the board approve these same actions. So the requested action is approve a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease amendment with OptoSense as requested in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting. Are there any questions or comments about this lease amendment? Okay, and we'll go to the vote. Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. The ayes have it, and this motion is adopted. Our next item is a lease with Upstate Electric LLC. Could I have a motion, please, to consider and adopt a lease with Upstate Electric?
So moved, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. A second.
Second by Meng Ling Shao.
Thank you, Ming Ling. So Upstate Electric LLC is a minority-owned business specializing in electrical construction and maintenance. It seeks to lease approximately 421 square feet of office space in Seaston for a term commencing on the date of last execution of the lease and terminating on December 17, 2026. The tenant will have the option to extend the lease for one additional 12-month period and will pay a total initial annual base rent of $10,525, which is based on a rate of $25 per square foot, and that would be through December 17th, 2024. For each successive one-year period, the rent will increase by 2% of the total annual base rate in the preceding year. The rent will include utilities and operating expenses, and the tenant will pay for parking once parking rates begin on December 18, 2025. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting and recommends that the board approve the same actions. So the requested action is approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease with Upstate Electric as requested in the memorandum that was provided to the board in advance of this meeting. Are there any questions or comments about this lease? We'll move to the vote. Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Meng Ling Shao,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it, and this motion is adopted. The next item is a lease amendment with Applied Materials, Inc. Could I have a motion, please, to consider and adopt a lease with AMAT?
Moved, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. A second.
Mike, I second it.
Thank you, Mike. So Applied Materials, Inc., otherwise known as AMAT, is a leader in materials engineering and currently leases 6,930 square feet of space in NFE. This is the training center lease. The company seeks to add approximately 2,536 square feet of space in NFE to this lease, 490 square feet of which is space currently known as NFE 1402 that was previously included in the amended and restated lease between AMAT and FRMC last year. This is the amended and restated lease. AMAT seeks to remove NFE 1402 from the amended and restated lease and add NFE 1402 to the training center lease, along with 2,046 square feet of other new additional space in NFE. The next item on our board agenda today is the item to remove NFE 1402 from the amended and restated lease. The rent for the total, which would be 9,466 square feet of space in NFE under the training center lease, will be $34.11 per square foot, and it will include an annual 3% increase in their total base rent costs. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved this resolution, which was provided to the board in advance of this meeting, and recommends that the board approve these same actions. So our requested action at this time is approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease amendment with AMAT as requested in the memorandum provided to the board prior to our meeting. Are there any questions or comments about this particular lease amendment? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote, beginning with Mike Abbott. Heather Hage. Heather,
Oh, do you not hear me? Aye.
thank you. Doreen Harris.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Meng Ling Shao.
Aye.
And I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The next item is the amendment to the amended and restated lease with Applied Materials, Inc., otherwise known as AMAT. So I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt an amendment to the amended and restated lease with AMAT.
So moved, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. Is there a second, please? Thank you, Mike. In 2023, the board authorized the corporation to enter into an amended and restated lease with AMAT covering 2,745 square feet of space in System, NFS, and NFE. Pursuant to the amended and restated lease, the company surrendered a portion of space in NFS and leased additional space in System and NFE. AMAT now seeks to remove the NFE space, which includes approximately 490 square feet of space, from the amended and restated lease, and pursuant to the previous agenda item, which was just adopted, add it to the training center lease. The rent for the remaining 2,255 square feet of space in System and NFS covered by the amended and restated lease will be $36.02 per square foot, with a 3% annual increase in the total base rent. The Finance Committee did approve the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting and recommends that the board approve these same actions. So the requested action is approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into an amendment to the amended and restated lease with AMAT as requested in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of our meeting. Are there any questions or comments on the amended lease? Okay, we'll move to the vote then, beginning with Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Xiao,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it, and this motion is adopted. Our next item is authorization to enter into an agreement for automated gear maintenance. Could I have a motion to consider and adopt an agreement with ASCO Power Services, please?
So moved by Mengling Xiao.
Thank you. A second.
I'll second. Heather.
Thanks. FRMC is seeking to enter into a 5-year agreement with ASCO for annual maintenance on automated gear for generators located in the Zen building. The company is the current provider of these services and was selected following a competitive procurement. This new agreement satisfies FRMC's procurement requirements. The cost is $35,821 for years 1 through 3, $37,612.05 for year 4, and $39,492.65 for year 5. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of our meeting, and it recommends that the board approve these same actions. The requested action is approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into an agreement with ASCO as requested in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting. Are there any questions or comments about this agreement? Then we'll move to the vote. Mike Abbott,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Xiao,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative, please. The ayes have it, and this resolution is adopted. That concludes the report from the Finance Committee for today. The next item on our board agenda is any new business. So I would ask that if there is any new business to be raised, if you would identify yourself and do so by bringing forth a motion.
This is Mike Abbott. It's not necessarily new business, but I just wanted to take a minute to make a comment. 4 or 5 of the resolutions we approved today dealt with leases, either with new vendors or renewing existing vendors, sometimes adding space as well. I also understand that for the building, the NanoFab reflective that we approved the budget for today, that's fully committed once that building is built and ready to be occupied. So I just want to take a minute to say thank you to the team that made that all happen. It's certainly very positive for our organization. So thank you.
I appreciate those comments, Mike, and certainly second those as well. And very much appreciative of all the work. A lot of these leases are small amendments, but they're still important to make sure that the campus remains full and vibrant, and that the companies that are doing business there are getting the space that they need to be able to conduct their business efficiently. And then obviously with regard to our newest project, that is just an amazing, amazing project, and so exciting. And I think we're all looking forward to seeing it as it progresses through the phases of construction to completion. So my thanks also to the team. I do have one bit of business. I did want to advise that Christine Chung has resigned from the board. Her resignation was effective February 9th, 2024. Christine had served as a director of New York Creates, FRMC, and FSMC since December of 2019. I certainly, and I think on behalf of us all, I'll express our gratitude to Christine for her dedicated service to the boards over these years, and we're grateful for her many contributions to our work, both in committee and as a full board. At this time, I'd like to provide an opportunity for public comment. And if any members of the public wish to comment, I would ask that you please introduce yourself at the outset of your comments and keep your comments to 2 minutes. I'd also note that if there are any questions related to today's agenda items, those could be directed to our spokesperson, Jason Conwell, after this meeting concludes. Hearing no public comments, the schedule for our next meeting is yet to be determined. Once we have identified a date for our next meeting, that will be posted on our website. And I would ask if there's any final business from any of my board member colleagues at this time. Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved by Manling Xiao.
Thank you, Ming Ling. A second, please.
Well, second, Heather.
Thank you, Heather. That concludes our business. Our meeting is adjourned this afternoon, and I thank everyone very much for their time and participation. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you.